Good evening, everybody. This is a meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Eastham. Today is June 5th, 2025, and this is a partially remote participation meeting. The members of the board are gathered in the Earle Mountain Room at Town Hall. Applicants and public may participate in person here or online through the Zoom app or by phoning in. This meeting will be live broadcast on local access channel 8 and streaming on the town website at www.eastham/ma.gov. Under the executive order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law signed by former Governor Charlie Baker on March 12, 2020, and extended by Governor Maura Healey to June 20, 2027, all members in any meeting of the public body may participate remotely. I'm Joanne Verlinden, Chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and with the help of my colleagues, I will be leading the meeting tonight. I think you're familiar with the procedures. I probably don't need to read through them again. Okay. We have one case tonight. Case number ZBA 2025-03, 150 State Highway, map 20, parcel 114, 150 Old State Highway Cottages, LLC. The owner applicant seeks an appeal pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 8, and Section 10 of the Eastham zoning bylaw of the decision of the Eastham Planning Board in case number PB 2025-05, denying the applicant a waiver from site plan. A vote will be taken. Seated on this case will be myself, Martin Ridge, Doug Bird, Justin Kennington, and I am advising everybody that by the next time we meet together, Justin will be a full voting board member. Okay. All right. Mr. Vecchione, do you have something to tell us?
Excuse me. Sorry to interrupt. Are you?
I will be excused. First of all, I've recused myself already, and I'll be leaving the room momentarily. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
It's not being sold out for 8 years. Planning board denied my waiver request for the site plan review. We've been before the planning board several times, spent tens of thousands of dollars on.
Spent tens of thousands of dollars on site plans and came out of it with nothing much different than what the property looks like 6 months ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago. So the waiver, in my opinion, is allowable because there's no change to the property. I can give you a schedule of events from the day I started looking at this property and the misinformation and disinformation I've been given. Currently have a lawsuit against the planning board and David Purnell privately and as a member of the planning board. He went around open meeting bylaw and contacted one of your selectmen, Jamie Dimitri, and said some horrific things to her. But what he did say was, we don't want this property or this project in our town. Mr. Vecchione is deceptive and deceitful. And if anybody knows me, I'm anything but that. I'm direct and I'm assertive and I tell the truth as best I can. And what that planning board did is cost me tens of $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 in carrying costs. So I'm here tonight to ask you to right a wrong. They say that they have very specific powers, as does your Conservation Commission Chairman, Karen Strauss. They don't have subjective powers. Their powers are ministerial, which means that they have very set rules and regulations that they have to follow. They're essentially bookkeepers. They're managers. They're managers of what the state municipal association of, I don't know what the acronym is. It's a municipal association of people working town hall for planning board, assessors, et cetera. And they have guidelines that they have to follow. Site plan is no different. So I spent all this time and all this money and we still don't have a vote. At the last hearing with the planning board, I asked them point blank, would you make a vote on this, or can you make a vote on this provisionally? And they wouldn't answer. That includes the town council. So when I have your team's comments on town council doesn't like this, and the team doesn't like it, I don't care about that. Because they don't have the rights to make a decision. The only board that I can tell that has subjective powers is this one. And generally from small towns, the ZBA, from my experience, has been people who have been there for a long time, people who are well-liked. They have a feeling for the town and what the flavor of the town is. The ZBA appeals process, and the members of that board have the most power in this town. The planning board, they don't. So the whole planning board is suspect in my eyes. And I could read you Purnell's thing, but there's no reason to.
No.
No, I don't think so, but
Right.
thank you.
So there's no reason to. It's well-known. Lawyers are talking. I'm more than happy to drop the suit against the planning board with the exchange of a waiver. And you think, well, boy, that sounds like blackmail, but it's not. It's linkage. You give me something I need, we'll give them something they need. They want this to go away, we'll make it go away. I'll keep the lawsuit against Purnell for defamation, and we'll see where that goes. But I have a schedule of events here that have taken place anywhere from the Board of Health to the Conservation Commission to the Alex Bates just sent me a stop work order, an enforcement order with fines, and the mass let's see. The Wetlands Enforcement Act from the Massachusetts DEP says you cannot give fines with an enforcement order. Its due process is messed up. You have to go to court to get fined. They can't give you a stop work order on an enforcement order. It has to be a denial of a permit. So that's where Anthony, my lawyer, will take over. But what gets me riled up is the fact that this planning board could have made a decision that put all this behind us by now. And I'd really like to have some back and forth on how you feel about that. We don't have to put in extra roads. We have to put in 2 mirrors and some downward facing lighting. That's it. And I've been for these boards for 3 months now. Cost me over $1,300 a day in interest on a $4 million loan. That's not right. And that money will be paid back one way or another. But the point is that you have the subject power. The town council does not make policy. You do. I'm at a disadvantage once again. I don't know if it's misinformation or disinformation. I'm at a disadvantage because they say a waiver doesn't have an appeal. Well, of course it does. Every decision by the ZBA or any boards, it can be appealed. Your own bylaws said it was appealed to the ZBA, but then I'm told that that was misread. So here we are anyway.
Okay, all right. I understand your predicament. It must be very frustrating for you and the project itself. I'm going to read to you from the town of Eastham's zoning bylaw, section 10, on site plan approval.
Sir, do you have a page?
Having to do with, it's on page 84, having to do with an appeal, number 10.2.6. I'll wait till you get to page 84.
Got it.
Any person aggrieved by a decision of the planning board on a site plan review special permit may appeal said decision to a court of competent jurisdiction under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 17, within 20 days of filing the decision with the town clerk. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you, sir, is we do not have jurisdiction.
Well,
And that's what
unfortunately,
that's what our town council has advised us, and our folks in the planning department, the same. So our hands are tied. We can't help you here.
It's actually the conclusion I came to when I reviewed the zoning bylaws today to get ready for the meeting. The basis for the site plan is 10.2.3. And the appeal is in 10.2.6, which goes to a court, not here.
Yeah. So we can't. I'm sorry.
well, certainly disagree with that. And are you telling me that there's no appeals process to this decision as well?
I'm telling you, we can't handle it.
Right.
We don't have the capability. We're not the right jurisdiction. You need to go to a court of competent jurisdiction, land court,
The
probably.
thing is, though, it's not a site plan approval that we're asking for. We're asking for a waiver.
The waiver,
Right.
we
but-
can't do anything about the
Well, it's
waiver.
sort of a red herring because everyone's saying they don't have jurisdiction, but somebody has to have jurisdiction and it can't be the planning board.
No, the land court.
Now what, I have to tie this up for another 2 or 3 months for
I-
that?
No, I thought you have a meeting in front of planning.
Yeah, the
next
whole board is
month.
suspect. I don't know that I'm gonna get that permit. We took a straw vote. They said they're gonna give it to us pending certain things. But, if I look them right in the face and say, can you make a decision or will you make a decision? Do you have a legal right to? And they said, not gonna answer. It's a kangaroo court over there.
Do you have a list of things that they want you to add to your site plan?
Sure,
Have you worked on them? Are you planning
we
to
have, but
to
there's
meet
benefit.
their requests?
We have, but there's benefit in having this waiver. And the thing is, the application says that, the appeal can go through this board. I don't have that in front of me. I disagree with your assertion that you don't have the
We
jurisdiction.
don't have jurisdiction.
I think, Gary, trying to appeal a waiver decision doesn't ring true to me either, because the idea is that if you have a decision where the case is made and you have your plans and you can say, it was all played out like a trial and here are things I didn't like. But when you're asking for a waiver, that's more of the quick opinion of the board to say yes or no, we want to have a full design review. And for us, so we don't have any record for us to look at and say, oh, no, this doesn't require a design review. We don't have all the expertise that the planning board has. We could review what the planning board does, but they haven't done it yet.
Well, that's not fair to me. Paul Lag is the town planner. He's got the background and the history or the education to help you make those decisions.
But I
So
think
that
what-
doesn't ring true to me.
No, I think what town council is saying that even if they had made a decision and there was an appeal,
Oh,
the appeal has to go to the court. It
right,
doesn't- it
right. But
doesn't-
I'm saying, but the genesis of appealing a waiver, the waiver is just there is no real.
It's appealable though, I think, but you have to go to court,
All right.
right? It's a very narrow decision, right? But I think it's appealable, but it doesn't come here.
I'd like to make a suggestion to you. Since we can't help, that maybe you would spend your time better if you withdraw the case that you brought to us without prejudice. Meaning no yes, no, 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 nothing, just without prejudice, just withdraw from this to free up your time, your energies to pursue something in land court that might get you the waiver that you're looking for, or the
Well,
I'd rather
appeal.
do this-
I think we're being premature to talk about land court when you still have the case. It's yet to have a decision made on the case. So that's his appeal process, but my understanding, Gary, is that there's a handful of things that planning has brought up. I'm not feeling that there's something that you're not willing to do that they've asked you to do.
But we'll see about that, I guess.
I mean, something else could come up, but that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, it's mostly about timing. I mean, they had a chance to do the right thing. They didn't. David Purnell is criminal as far
yeah.
as I'm concerned.
Hopefully some of those people will abstain. Whatever needs to happen will happen, but
Well,
Um,
if you don't have jurisdiction or you're at least claiming you don't have jurisdiction, rather than withdraw, I'd be asking for continuance.
yeah, continuance and then you still. Yeah, I think that's prudent as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, Justin, would you read the findings of fact, proposed findings? of fact?
I would love to, but where
Madam
did
Chair.
I put them? I don't, if you're
If
gonna
it's a
grant the
continuance, you don't have to
continuance.
do that.
We don't need
Yeah,
that,
no,
okay,
no, no.
all right, thank
If
you.
just
All right,
If I'll move that we continue the case until a certain date, a date certain.
How often do you meet?
What's that?
How often do you meet?
Once a month, so we could do August or July.
July, please.
July.
There goes to, I won't say anything.
No. Must be earlier than that.
And
all right, may I have a second?
Second,
Second,
Well,
Doug?
let's get the date correct.
Before you close the meeting, can I ask another question or?
Yep, yeah, we're gonna get the date here while she's writing it up.
First Wednesday, it's the second,
First Thursday.
first Thursday,
What's the date?
third.
3rd of July. Anybody busy?
Yeah, well, what's the next one after that?
It'll be August, first Thursday in August.
We'll take the third then,
3rd of July?
please. But I'd like to ask a question before you close the meeting, so it's on record.
Mm-hmm. Let me get a vote here, please, first. All in favor of approving the continuance to July 3rd of this year?
Aye.
Okay, aye, all right, all 4 of us. Okay. Yes, sir, your question.
Can you tell me your understanding of this waiver bylaw and why, if no one has ever brought one before the town and they don't really have the answer to who, handles the appeal? I mean, it's my belief that the ZBA does because of language in there that unfortunately can't put my finger on this very minute. But we could take that up in July, but
My understanding, sir, is that the zoning bylaw is very clear. We do not have the jurisdiction to do what you would like us to do.
okay, so I'll leave that go, but could I ask you one more question?
Of course.
So when we last met, you guys gave us the permit, or me the permit, to change from a seasonal cottage colony to a year-round condominium use.
That's right.
We offered a covenant that said, we're gonna leave the property as is, we'll never change it, we don't want to bother with Cape Cod Commission, any of that stuff. Do you remember that?
I do.
How would you feel? I'm asking for a straw vote or just some input before we meet the next time. How would you feel if I removed that covenant and took it out completely?
I don't think you'll get the approval that you want. I think that would stop your project.
From this board?
From the town, sir. That the covenant was part of the original agreement.
But it was an offer, it wasn't a
But there's-
demand. I offered it.
Well, there's 2 covenants. There's one covenant was the short-term rentals. And we talked about 100 years and you said, I'm happy to do it for life.
Yep.
That was all. This was another covenant where you were agreeing not to change any of the outside structure or appearance of any of the buildings.
Right, but it was an offer. It wasn't a demand, right? I don't know if I understand
I
it
thought
right, so.
it's, Paul,
So there's nothing in the bylaws that requires that. That was something that was agreed upon. So if you wanted to remove that, you would need to apply back to the zoning board for
Or a revision, or
a revision.
since we're all here, do you have time to talk about that for a minute, or would you rather?
You
wait?
might
I would
also
say
have
that
to talk
that's
to
not
the.
on the
his-
agenda. So
Wouldn't he have to talk to the historic commission too, because it is an historic property? Would that,
there's nothing, there's no historic regulations that cover, no town bylaws that cover.
It's actually Cape Cod Commission, from what I've gathered.
yeah.
It's a very lengthy process and something I wouldn't take lightly. I just wanted to
Yeah,
get.
Gary, I think what you want to know is it's not on the agenda, so we won't discuss it in detail, but I would say my opinion would be if you presented a series of drawings to say, here's how I want to tweak things. I'm going to add windows, take away windows. And if my view is the drive-by view, if I drive by that 5 years when you're done and it doesn't catch my eye, you've done a good job.
So just for clarity, I know, I don't want to get too detailed because it's not on the agenda, but that issue is not in the zoning board's purview.
That's true too.
So if,
It isn't?
no, that
Whose
is
is
just
it?
the planning board. If you're not.
Should be
permitted-
fun.
So it just came up through this process, so it got tacked on to the special permit, but
it would have to go back to the
technically,
planning.
yeah,
board.
so the ZBA would have to vote through a request initiated by Mr. Vecchio and vote to revise the terms of the special permit. You could get that completely out of the ZBA's purview. And then it just depends to the extent of what Mr. Vecchio is planning to do. Depending on the nature of what you're doing there, it may or may not require planning board approval. I don't know. It depends. So
I would just go from saying no changes to do whatever you want, because I'm not sure if the marketing is of that. It was a great idea. I'm just not sure marketing wise, it's a proven winner. So just looking for options in the future. Thanks for your time.
All right. David. Business.
Okay. Let's see, let's take a look at the minutes for April's meeting.
Have them here.
Does anyone have any?
Is there another set of them? Or in my.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And it's just for, if you're keeping files, this is just Mr. Vecchio's emailing some earlier today.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Wait, so he came in here knowing that his plan was to just continue it?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right.
Well, because he had to come, he had to show up at the meeting to do it. Once he insisted on there being a meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
About that covenant stuff. What can he do to hold the planning board hostage, so to speak?
Well, that wasn't part of the covenant. That was just a condition of the special permit.
Okay,
So it's less complicated to undo that. So it would just be revise the special permit to remove that condition if the board agreed to it, which I would recommend you did, because it's not really anything that was under your jurisdiction to begin with. It just kind of get lumped in and we went with it.
okay,
So basically, like I said, it would depend on the nature of what he's
The
doing.
changes.
If it's just cosmetic changes, then it doesn't, most likely it wouldn't even require planning board approval. It would just be whether he's changing something physically on the site, expanding, doing an addition, expanding, or doing anything. So if
Okay.
it's just aesthetics, materials changes, or, just maintenance things.
I mean, there was talk last month down to like paint color and things and.
Yeah, none of that there's no regulations on
Right.
that property
He
that.
volunteered all.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just saying, if we did remove that covenant, then okay,
Right.
he could paint it red instead of white.
But to be honest, it was an influence, it was a strong influencer, and that's why the discussion was so short and direct about saying, looks like you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Because he put that in there to make us all feel comfortable about it. So I feel it's disingenuous then to come and say, I want to remove that because I volunteered it, but.
I would say strictly
I thought the question
speaking,
had a bit of a threatening nature to it.
yes.
strictly speaking, it's not relevant to the ZBA, and that has just, basically, you're just reviewing
Right.
the change of use, and so
Yeah.
I probably would have approved it anyways. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. He's just very, very angry with the planning board. And that gentleman in particular.
Good for wrap up our meeting.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
But that's the question.
Sure.
I thought when we approved this last time, we included a condition on the traditional kind of New England paint colors and I don't have my notes from the meeting, but I don't see that in here. Am I missing it somewhere?
I think you're,
I thought that's just what we were just talking about, and I was
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for it here. I was looking for it here too.
See it.
I don't have my notes from that
It's
meeting.
0.8 on page 3 of 4. Applicant and subsequent condominium or property owners will maintain the exterior of buildings on the property with historically appropriate paint colors and cedar shingles.
Got it. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, I was looking at this bulleted list too, and I noticed that that was part of a larger numbered list.
Right.
There,
I
there,
did the same
okay,
thing.
yes,
So
okay,
it is there. Okay.
all right. Okay, a motion to approve the minutes, please.
I move to approve these minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And myself, aye. Okay, 4-1. Before we close the meeting, let me find a piece of paper here. I have so many pieces of paper. All right. I would like to read into the minutes a thank you to Jarod Carey. On May 9th, I received an email from Jarod Carey responding to my reminder that his first term on the ZBA was coming to an end and that I hoped he would stay with us for a second term. He responded, "Unfortunately, the demands of my career have grown, now requiring more of my time with increased hours and frequent travel. I feel that I'm no longer able to dedicate the necessary effort to perform my duties on the board to the best of my ability. I feel the responsible thing to do is to yield my seat, and I'm happy to continue to serve the board until a replacement, you, sir, is found." Jarod served 3 years on the board. He was sometimes a quiet presence, but always a steady and dependable one. When he asked questions, offered suggestions, or presented a different point of view, one knew that he had spent some considerable time looking at the issue carefully and thoroughly. I told Jarod that if ever his work schedule and travel commitments lightened up and he had time to once again volunteer, we would be happy to welcome him back. The Zoning Board of Appeals would like to thank Jarod for his service, and we wish him for now and the immediate future all of the best.
Very nice.
Okay. And now we need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Before we adjourn, is there anything procedurally we need to do to change my position, or does that all happen outside the meeting?
Not, we, all right, let me.
And I'm happy either way.
Yeah.
Before we close, let's make sure we know.
Let me put that under other business. Let me officially move you to a full voting membership. Okay, board approval, yes?
Yes.
Yes, aye, okay. And now the next thing you need to do is, when Jared's turn is up on the 30th of this month,
Mhm.
then you go and get to the clerk's office and get sworn in,
That makes sense.
and then you're all official.
Okay.
You're part of the first string on the team.
Put me in, coach.
Right. Okay, all right, and now a motion to adjourn, please. Doug, okay? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Me too, okay. Motion is, yes, meeting is adjourned at 28 minutes after 5.